Hello and welcome to another episode of Inspired Women Gathering. This is a show that talks about all things from life, relationships, spirituality, business, and everything in between. Women inspire me through their stories, their resilience, resourcefulness, tenacity, and the powerful movement that we make. I love connecting and having deep conversations, sharing with you the women I am so blessed to know and who inspire me, especially as we navigate together through this deep unknowing in our world today. My name is Dixie Bennett. I'm your host, and I'm a soulful woman and wealth coach and healer, helping you live an abundant life. And I created this platform to highlight amazing women who I come across and connect with. I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. And so I'm super excited to introduce my next fabulous guest. She's very energetic and bubbly. Her name is Kirstey Jane, and her topic today is about bubbles, boxes, and breakthroughs. So Kirstey is a professional corporate and fashion photographer and hairstylist who specializes in making people look great and feel amazing. She's the founder and creative force behind Supercorporatepeople, that is renowned, oh my gosh, that is renowned for delivering really good people pictures to Calgary business leaders, corporations, publications, and entrepreneurs. Kirstey is also known for her warm but no bullshit approach to enable her clients to look at themselves objectively and remove the mental blocks that prevent them from taking the next step to achieve their greatest potential in their personal and professional lives. She runs workshops and courses on connection, relationships, and empowerment, speaks on these topics in YouTube, social media platforms, and her podcast, Bubbles, Boxes, and Breakthroughs, and is currently in the process of pulling all this together in a beautiful book. Kirstey's ultimate and deep felt mission is to help people, show people how to be better listeners so that every human gets to feel heard, understood, and can express themselves safely without feeling judged. She says feeling misunderstood is the root cause of people not taking action in their lives, and it can be utterly devastating. We all just need to feel loved, accepted for who we are, no matter what we choose. So thank you so much, Kirstey, for being here today.
Hi. You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So where in the world are you coming from today?
I'm in Calgary, Canada.
Mm-hmm. And so tell me a little bit about how you got started into what you, being a hairdresser. I know, I'll just say a little bit. So Kirstey has done my hair for photo shoots. She's been my hairdresser off and on over the years, and I always enjoy our time together. So share with us a little bit about how you got started into the art of hairdressing, photography, and all that you offer.
Hair is probably one of the most recent things. That was something I got into about 6 years ago.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was just an add-on. So I guess just try and do this really briefly. So I've been in Canada for 19 years. I immigrated here from London in the UK. And I guess if I can just kind of I've done a lot of different things, and they've all involved people, because I'm hugely passionate about people and the human behavior and so on, fascinates me. So I spent a long time working in the restaurant and bar and coffee company industry as a trainer, consultant, personal development. I used to run training courses and so forth. So that was my main career in England. But I'm hugely artistic too. So it was one of those things where growing up, I needed a stable career, but I also needed a creative outlet. And so one of my huge passions was photography. So I think since the age of about 16, I would say, I've been shooting photos, and being in London, there was a lot of professional out of work actors, singers, dancers that all needed pictures for their portfolios, headshots, model agencies, that kind of thing. So I kind of ran them side by side. So I had my day job that gave me all my security and was my career that I was building. And then because it was, a very transient industry in, restaurants, bars, that kind of thing, and all these people were around, it was perfect because I could network with them all, and they all needed pictures. So by sort of night and weekends and stuff, I would do photo shoots. And I would work with model agencies doing test shots for models. And then by day, I had my serious career. So they were always running along side by side. I really wanted to just do photography and let go of everything else. But I didn't have the knowledge and know-how of how to create my own business growing up. So it was just you know, it was how can I be creative in my day job? So in what I was doing, that was where, you know, I was sort of teaching these like regular courses for corporate companies. And I just thought it was bullshit, basically. The people that were coming onto the courses were either didn't want to be there, or they'd been sent by their manager, or it was an attitude issue. And I realized this early on. I was like, you can keep running these things, but if it's not having an impact on people when they leave, and they're not making a difference when they go back to their stores and so on, then I can't do this job. It's like, it's just not fulfilling. So I started creating my own thing. I was really analyzing people and using the skills that I had in photography, because that's huge. You've got to bring people out of themselves. Most people are terrified having a camera on them. Like, you know, because you're like pinpointed, right? We always think of like, oh my God, we get really insecure. So it's being able to take someone and very, very quickly build trust and get them to pull the best side of themselves out for me. So it's almost like a movie director kind of thing. So because of that I was always doing, I realized that it was the same skill set that I needed in the business world, where, you know, the reason people don't perform is because they have deep set things going on, and whether that's in their own personal psyche, or whether it's, you know, they've got stuff going on at home or in their relationship or with their kids or their partners or whatever, and it's that's affecting their performance when they come into work. And then once you muddle all that together, and you've got other people that have got issues in terms of, like, you know, being you know, subordinate, or be, you know, controlling everyone or whatever, all of that plays out in the workplace. So it was just very eye-opening to see all of that. When I moved to Canada, I immigrated here. The reason being, I wanted to, you know, I got married and wanted to start a family and so on. The dream was really just to be able to have a place, or live in a place that was where we could be affluent. You know, we could have a parent that could stay at home and look after kids without worrying about money and so on, which is what we had in London. And so from that, I raised my 2 children, but I was going crazy, not working, but I still wanted to be at home. So that was really when I thought, you know what, this is the perfect opportunity to really focus on photography, because it was something that I'd always wanted to do. Now I was in a place to do it. So my photography business grew here in Calgary. And then I guess just kind of adding to those things. So I was also a trained makeup artist, so that was part of my skill set. And then I wanted to add the way to make money here in photography. See, Calgary is a very different place to London. London was kind of like media central, right? It was creative. There was advertising agencies, there was magazines, there was models, there was all of this stuff. It was very creative. And I came to Calgary 19 years ago. It was literally just oil and gas, and not very exciting for anything else. So when I first started my photography business, it was mainly doing people's pets and children and babies and weddings and things. And that was great to get me out there and network. But I was getting really frustrated that it wasn't kind of like dynamic. I was in the wrong city for that. So I thought, okay, that's not working. So at least I can make some money. How can, you know, where's the money? Well, the money was in corporate. And when I looked at the kind of marketing that was going on here in Calgary, it was early days. People would barely have websites, and I knew it was going to go that way because the rest of the world had already gone that way, but Calgary just quite wasn't there yet. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to apply all my skills I had from the past. So all the creative stuff, all the dynamic stuff, how can I make this help businesses? And so what I realized was that, you know, every business was trying to make money, but they really didn't know how to promote themselves in a way that really connected with the audience and made them stand out. So that was my niche in photography. It was, I know corporate because I've worked in corporate, so I can connect and relate. I also know what's kind of attention grabbing and dynamic, so I incorporated that into my look. So it was really a case of taking somebody's business and saying, what is it that you're trying to promote? Who's your target audience? Who do you want to connect to? What's the image you're trying to portray? You know, what kind of business are you after? And tying all of that into coming up with images of their business and themselves and their people so that they could connect better with their audiences. And so I guess, you know, there are lots of photographers here in Calgary, but I think people know that it's they see my pictures and they know that it's something I've done. Just, I think it's just got a little edge. It's kind of more fun and funky and kind of, I don't know, it grabs your attention for some reason, and people know that that's my thing. So that's kind of where it was, and hairdressing was just adding a skill into that. It was adding in, you know, doing boudoir and more fashion focused things as Calgary has evolved. We are getting there slowly, but it just added more fun for me. So yeah, it's hair and photography, best of both worlds. And then I still have all this personal development stuff that I've been doing my whole life, and yeah, that's become a bigger thing now too.
So I love that. Well, it sounds like you've been on the edge, right? And I think that's where one of the things I love about world travel is you get to experience and see things, and especially London. Like, I know it's always been kind of a mecca for, you know, media, advertising, big ideas, thinking outside the box, being creative. So being able to bring that here, and just watching and seeing the industry as it's grown, because my background's in marketing too, and just seeing the energy has shifted in a massive way in the last, you know, even, I would say even 10 years. There's been definitely a bigger change, especially small business, media, advertising, for small businesses, you know, doing different art, website design. Even just in the last 5 years, website design has totally taken off in a different way as well.
Totally, yeah. I mean, it's interesting you say that, because the biggest difference I noticed, so 19 years ago, like when I first came here, it felt like
desolate. I'm sure it was like
it felt like England in the 1950s, like my grandparents' era, you know, where people just didn't, you know, they didn't lock their houses or their cars, and you know, everyone was friends with everyone. I honestly, I remember saying this to friends when I got here and going, oh my god, I don't know what I've done. This is like Stepford Wives. Like, I'm being invited to, like, you know, quilting parties and baking nights, and I was like, I don't understand. I'd never experienced this before. It was really bizarre. And it was just, it's interesting. I think the biggest thing I've noticed here, and I've got a lot of friends that are from Europe over here, and it's like, I think because it's so busy and there's so much competition and it's so multicultural over there, it's a big melting pot. And if you don't work hard and you don't do things quick enough, and you don't, there's 100 people willing to step into your shoes if you don't. So you return phone calls quicker, you're more astute, you want to have a leading edge on everyone else all the time. It's very competitive. Whereas here, it was very calm and laissez-faire, and sure, I'll give you a call next week, and it would be next week. You know, it was just, I was like, what's wrong with everyone? But it was one of the reasons I came, because I'd been burned out over there. I was so like, just go, go, go the whole time. And to come here and just have this calm, I mean, it was perfect for, you know, raising a family. I didn't want the stress. But once I got back into the workplace, I was like, okay, we really need to start stepping things up, because as people, you know, people emigrate here, there's more immigrants, and, you know, it's more multicultural, and it's going the same way, but it's probably a good 50 years behind. I think it's fun. It's fun to have all of these different things, but it is a very different mentality, very different.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I think too, I love that you have such multifaceted skill sets to be able to bring to the table when you work with people. So when you work with people, how do you talked about personal development, you talked about doing photography, and then adding hairdressing, makeup. You've got a lot of different tools to add. So, and for me personally, I've only ever come in on the hairdressing side, so I know that. But I do know your photos. I know quite a few of my clients and friends who've actually had your photos. You've been on my list to get photos done. But where do people just come in, and like, how do you connect with them? How do you know how to work with them? Do they go through a program with you, or like, what do you do for them?
Most people come to me through referral. I've really never advertised, only like, you know, through my own social media, sort of Facebook, Instagram, that kind of thing, but it's always been through referral. And the thing that I keep hearing over and over again, and you have to understand, this was never conscious. Like, I never consciously chose to be this way, or I didn't, you know, I'm self-trained, self-learned. I never went to school to do photography. I just followed my passion. And one of my deep-rooted things in me, in whoever I meet, it doesn't matter about photography, just in general, is I can read people very, very quickly. And I think as the years have gone by, I've started to understand that there is something else at work here. I just thought I was a bit weird. I didn't really understand what was going on. But after a while, when people keep telling you the same thing over and over again, I was like, what is this? There must be something to it. And it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I started to realize that, you know, I was like, I'm not the best photographer in the world. Like, people can recognize my images, but not because I'm technically brilliant. You know, I'm not like the best at anything, but it's how apparently I make people feel. And I noticed that the things started to happen with doing hairdressing as well. I'm not the most, you know, I'm not the best hairdresser in the world either. There's millions of people way better than I am. I can do a good job and I love what I do, but they're not here for the hair. It's like, and I was like, what is it? And people kept saying to me, it's just how you make me feel. And I think what it is I have this innate sense to, I want to make people, like, I want them to see themselves in the way that I see them. Because I'm probably one of the most self-conscious people there are, and self-aware as well. I've worked hard on all of that. But like I said, in general, like, if you were, I noticed being in corporate that there was these, you know, you'd have these big wigs kind of thing that would throw their weight around that, you know, people were terrified of, and so on and so on. And I remember that one day there was somebody that I was really scared of, and like a big boss or whatever. And one day I was in a bar and kind of had a few drinks, gone to the washroom, you know what women are like in the washroom when you've had a few. And I came out and I'm kind of like sloshing around, and this woman came out, and she like hit the wall as she walked out, and I looked at her and I suddenly realized that she was like this big boss that I was terrified of at work. I was like, oh my God. I was like dying. It was a really surreal moment. And she's like, oh, hi. She didn't even know who I was. So she was like, oh, you know, being really stupid and everything. And I said, you do realize that, you know, because we've got chatting and I told her where I worked. And she's like, I said, I know who you are. She didn't know who I was. I just thought this was like hilarious. And so, you know, when people are saying like, you know, if you're terrified of public speaking, imagine everybody's naked, because you want to think of the most stupid thing you can. And it was exactly that kind of moment. It's like, I just watched the person I'm terrified of drunk in a toilet and come out, and and it just like, it took away all the fear and everything. And I was like, oh my God, we are all just human. Like, she's not in her environment, and outside of her environment, she's just like me, you know. And it was just a real, this was so long ago, but it was just a real wake-up call for me in terms of, we are all human. Like, it doesn't matter how confident we look or how we're perceived or how successful people think we are all terrified of something. Like, we all have insecurities. And I started to recognize that in everybody that I met. And I think, you know, when I'm about to take someone's picture, sometimes if I've only got 5 minutes with them or an hour, it really doesn't matter. But people are terrified of their, they want to put their best foot forward, right? And even if they are really pleased with the way they look, even if they really like themselves, when it comes to having a picture taken, the thing that's different is when you look in a mirror, you're in control of that, right? You're looking in the mirror and you're seeing what's reflecting back. And as you're kind of turning, you know, you get yourself ready to go out.
You see what you want to see. You see how you think you want to see it, right?
You just did it right there. You literally went how you want to see. You do this thing, right, where you're like, so, hello. Yeah, you do all this stuff, right, in the mirror, and then you go out and you think you look amazing. And then you see these pictures that people tag you in afterwards, and you're like, what the hell was I thinking?
Especially, I've had that so many times. I'm like, oh my God.
And it's like, it's so embarrassing, because when someone's pointing a camera, you don't look at the camera with the same confidence that you look at yourself in the mirror. So I realized that as a photographer, I'm your mirror, and I have to reflect back exactly what you're seeing. So it's a lot of psychology involved. Like, I never knew all of this. I never set out to it. It's just that since I've been working in all these things, I've like broken it all down and gone, why does this work? Why do people say that? Why do they feel that? What is it that I do? And I broke it all down, and I have to be your mirror. So, you know, it's feedback. I have to give you constant feedback. I have to constantly show you what we're doing. And first thing I'll do is, you know, we'll take a few pictures. I'll show you what we've done. I'm like, tell me what you like and what you don't like. And the first thing you'll do is like, oh, I don't like that. And it's like, why? because you can see my bald spot, my big nose, my muffin top, and my arms look fat, whatever it is, right? It's like, okay, so I got you. I know that's something you're conscious of. It's not a judgment, but now I know that, I will look out for that. So tell you what we're going to do. We're going to shoot from this angle because that will elongate this, or it'll make that bigger, or it'll hide that, or whatever. And because they know I've got their back, now they're becoming more confident because they can relax. And it's like, oh, she's got me here. Like, she's not going to make me look hideous, you know? So that's a huge part of it.
That's
and then
huge.
in that,
yeah, I know with, well, some of my, I mean, I've had lots of different photographers over the years, and some of them I haven't enjoyed the experience because they just take the photos, boom, 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 and you kind of get a list of what was taken. And then I've had other ones who give me a little bit of feedback, and I do find the best photos are the ones that I have a good relationship with the photographer, where they actually talk to me. They're allowing me to bring out my inner self, right? And just be a little bit more relaxed, because I do find I'm like, oh my God, even in the video, I mean, I'm getting better over the years. But it's just it's that comfortableness, right? It's like you're having this camera pointed at you, and it's just capturing an image that maybe you might not identify with. Because like what you said about how you see yourself in the mirror, and what you see, and how other people, or how the photographer would pull that out in you. That's a gift. It truly is.
It's feedback. And without feedback, we're not, like, think about it. It's in everything we do, right? So it's in relationships. Like when you speak to someone, what do? Do they listen and hear you and there's space, or do they react to everything you say and they're always triggered? Or do they respond to you? It's the same thing. I mean, it's like when you're doing I use this example when we were chatting earlier about Facebook Live. You know, you're on camera, you're talking to all the people in the world, but no one's responding. There's no conversation, so you don't even know if anyone's listening. You can't even see yourself in a monitor. So one step up from that is what we're doing right now. We're engaging. There's two of us, so you know, if you ask me a question that makes no sense, I'm not going to be able to answer it. If you say something and I can't stop talking, it makes you feel good. You know, you asked a good question, you got me going, so it gets you going. And you know, is the rapport. So I think we're always trying to create rapport in really good relationships. Like that's what creates connection. And when people feel connected inherently as the human race, I mean, we're sentient beings. We all want to feel connected. We want to feel firstly connected with ourselves, and then we want to feel connected with others. And if we don't create that as a step-by-step in anything that we do that's new, there's always a missing link, and it doesn't feel right. So if you apply that to any job, so as a makeup artist, as a hairstylist, or as a photographer, I've got to get you to connect with yourself first, like get you to have the confidence. Then I'm going to get you to connect with me so you trust me. And then we're going to have rapport and we're going to play. And so that's when you get to be yourself and forget about your act or trying to show off or trying to be something you're not. And I'll call you out and you get to be yourself. And then there's the picture. And the comment I get more than anything is, you really captured the sort of essence of this person. That's what I keep hearing. So I think that is probably the underlying thing. And that's not something you learn when you go to school or whatever. It's all about lighting.
So how does the personal development part feed into this?
It's just evolved. It's so it was a previous career that I used that, you know, you learn a toolkit, you just kind of implement it into everything you do.
And what was your previous job that was working with personal development?
So that was back in London. So I was working with in the restaurant and bar industry.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah. I was like a corporate
what were you doing? Sorry, I missed it.
There's a lot, I know.
Yeah. No, that's okay. So how would you identify yourself then now?
An alien.
Yes, we've had these conversations.
I know. I hate this question. I don't know. I'm just fluid, and I'm passionate about just helping people, you know, be the best they can be from the inside out. And sometimes that is a visual thing. That's why it's hair or photography. Sometimes it's about who they're being, and who they want to be. And it can be that you see, my hair clients have become photography clients because they trusted me with their hair and their image and how I made them feel. So it's like, oh, you know, I've always hated having my pictures taken. Like, I think I trust you. Could you do that? It feeds into it. And it's the same with as a photographer, because obviously, you know, I'm primping around and making sure they look good, and they're like, God, your attention to detail. I'm like, it's okay, I'm a hairdresser, that's why. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. And then because they trust me with their pictures, now they assume I'm a brilliant hairdresser. So they feed in. And then in these situations, if someone's sitting there having their hair done for 3 hours, we're talking about a lot of stuff. And in that, it's kind of, I guess it feels like therapy because they're sharing. And I could just use my old skills, you know, from doing helping people through stuff in the workplace and personal development and learning to communicate. That feeds into it too. So more and more I'm realizing that, you know, I think we know where our passions are because they're the things that we would do for free. They're the things that we could just spend so much time and energy on and never tire of. And it's like, oh, and then when people start telling you that you have a gift for that, it's like, maybe I should consider doing something with that. And that has been coming along for a long time. And part of what I work, I contract with the salon like 1 day a week, not doing hair, but working with their management team, their development.
Okay. That's awesome.
And so that's been a really perfect resource for me, because as we're trying to make changes with the staff and helping them through things, it's allowed me to be able to run courses and workshops with them and with the management team to kind of move them forwards. So that's been a really good outlet for me to kind of like fine tune some of these things. And I'm at the point now, and especially with the situation we're in now, obviously now I can't cut hair, I can't take photos. So, you know, I was kind of redundant, and I was like, I need to push this through and get some stuff online and start working more online where I can really help educate people how to connect and communicate with themselves and others in order to create these breakthroughs that just push, you know, people through whatever it is that they're trying to do. So that's kind of where that's going now.
Yeah, I love it. It's just more organic. So, and you just seem to answer, kind of follow in alignment with whatever feels good in the moment.
Honestly,
You're definitely guided.
Well, that, and I like what I said earlier about, you know, in Europe, I think you learn to be flexible. It's like here a lot of people they got their job for life, or they came out of college and got into a family business, or, you know, Alberta is it was very affluent, you know. I know there's been troubles now with the whole oil and gas industry, but, you know, people weren't used to moving around and doing different things. It's kind of like a set thing. You go to university, you get this job, and it was hard for people to, you know, I know that a lot of, you know, shops and cafes and restaurants were finding it really hard to recruit staff because a lot of teenagers didn't even want to work. They didn't have to because they were well supported by their parents and so on. And to me, I was like, oh, that's really entitled. Like, everybody works. Like, you coming from somewhere where it's so busy and changeable, you learn to float. Like, you don't assume that you're going to be in something for a long time. You're more open to change and to keep jumping. And so, you know, if you looked at my resume when I was younger in that corporate world, I think the longest I was ever in a job for was about 6 years. And then after that, it would be like 1 year, 2 years, 1 year, maybe 3. And I guess coming here, that would look like I jumped around a lot. But to me, it was like, no, I learned a lot. I got a lot of experience, and I don't fear change. I just don't. So I try and be the thing that's kind of floating on the surface rather than, you know, sinking down to the bottom.
That's so interesting because, you know, as you mentioned that about looking at the resume, mine was very much the same. I had an 8-year career, and then I changed, and then I went into, you know, oil and gas. I worked in oil and gas for about 10 years, but each company I worked at was about 2 years, a year and a half, 3 years, and just kind of all over the place. And then, I mean, I've been in my business now just 10 years, but even still it's changed, and it's been very fluid. Adding in different things, but I mean, the business name has been pretty constant, but then just adding in different tools, different modalities, different things, and coming into, especially this time in the world of being adaptable to change, it sounds like it's serving you very well.
Yeah, I think so. And I think I've always said this, the most flexible person wins. Like, if you know, the world is always evolving, like everything is changing all the time. And I get that, back in the olden days or whatever, you know, our parents' era, you know, it was a job for life, a gold watch, a handshake, you got married, you had 2.2 kids, you had a white picket fence. It was just the way it was laid out to you. But that was like after the war, right? It's a great, huge periods of instability. And so everybody needed stability. And I think that now it's different to that. There is, you know, we balance between certainty and uncertainty, and we go from one extreme to the other, and it's about bobbing around and finding that. And I think if you're not open, if you don't like look at what's around you and learn, like there's always so much possibility. Like this, it's never a dead end. Like anything that happens to you, it's very easy to get down about it, but when you get out of that and get rid of your sulk, you can go, right, what's possible here? Like what can I, you know, look at? What could be possible? You come up with so many options, and then it's your choice to do any of those, and you can always gather the skills to do one of those if you've never done it before. I mean, I've always believed that if you really, really want something bad enough, you can absolutely have it if you are willing to go to the lengths that it takes to have it. The question is, are you willing? If I want to be an astronaut, you know, I don't know if there's an age limit. Maybe I'm just too old and that's the end of it.
No, as far as I'm concerned, there's absolutely no age limit.
But you can. I mean, it's just like, you know, I did this exercise with my kids. It's like wherever you're sitting right now and you're looking around, you know, and you just think to yourself all the things you take for granted. So right now, you know, I'm looking on my desk, which is a pigsty right now. There's about 50,000 things on it. But it's like I can pick up anything, right? I'm going to give you two objects. It's like, what do I know about these two things? Like this is a yellow Sharpie, and this is like a massage ball thing that you just prod around. Like, what did it take for this thing to come into existence? Like who, you know, first of all, you know, there's the production line, where it was sold, how it got there, who produced it, who made it, who invented it, where's the chemicals come from that form the plastic, how did they get the type on it? And you could sit here for about 2 hours researching the origin of a Sharpie. I could spend another 2 hours researching this. And if I look at all the things, there is so much knowledge and so much to be known and figured out. It's just that we just take it for granted and we don't see it. So there is always possibility absolutely everywhere. It's just, what do you want to do? What turns you on? And what gets you going? You know, what do you want to focus on? And so often we just shut down and go, well, I lost my job. That's it. I'm a failure. I might as well kill myself because nobody wants me. Just think out the box. Break it down.
I've seen that with a lot of people. I've seen that with some business owners that I know, especially. They're like, oh, well, my business is closed. Now what? You know, and they've gone into that pity sulk and life is over as I know it. I mean, I went in the day that I had to close my business and put my key in the door and walk away. Like I was sad. You know, I was really sad because I don't know when I'm going to be able to go back. You know, I do have brick and mortar, right? Some people do, some people don't. But there's a process of letting go, but also I feel very hopeful and I feel very excited about the possibilities of, you know, as I've been sitting with my business too, it's like, well, where do I want to go and what do I want to do? There's lots of opportunities and possibility, and it's a time for dreaming.
But also with you are very self-aware. So you don't let one thing define your whole being. It's like you're made of many, many parts. So if one part gets lost, you still have so many other parts that you can rely on. I think that's what people do. You know, when they're like, well, I've got my lifelong oil and gas job, and they define that. And that means I can have another house and I can have all the toys and I can do this, this, and this. And suddenly the job's gone. They've got nothing else. Like they've never focused on their relationships. They've never focused on what drives them, or they've never focused on their kids or whatever.
Or even having a passion. A lot of them just don't even have a secondary passion, or they have a seasonal passion, but it doesn't serve them throughout the year. Yeah, and I think a lot of people are suffering in that way. So what would you advise for people who are suffering right now? What might be something to get them going?
In terms of
just sparking their inspiration or thinking outside the box? I
think one question I would ask someone is, when you were a kid, what was the one thing you did that you would lose all sense of time? I think kids are so creative. Like you can give a kid a box, cardboard box, You could lock a kid. I think of the Harry Potter stories, you know, there's this kid that's locked under the stairs by his horrible parents. And kids have this ability to go into their mind. It's like they're not, what's the word? They're not controlled or shut down by what's around them. Like they're not, the physical things, like they go into their minds, like they're super creative. And that's where survival is. Nobody can control your mind. You're the only one that can. You're the only one who's in charge of that, in charge of your thoughts. So, you know, if the physical stuff around you, which is a product of your thoughts ultimately, but if you don't like it, then get into your head and think about what it is that inspires you. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't know, nothing inspires me. It's like, well, how did you spend your time as a kid?
Mm-hmm.
I was an only child. And I think I used to drive my parents insane because I was always bored. It was like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? I remember my dad bought me this big book and it said, what can I do today? And it had like 1 billion crafts in it. And I made 1 billion crafts and like filled the house up with them and drove everyone insane. But one of the things I would do is write. Like my dad would be like, go write a story, go write an adventure. And he'd give me a topic or some things. And it was kind of improv. Now I never thought about that before.
That is so cool. Well, that was
the
question I was going to say. So what did you do when you were a kid?
You know, okay, here's a frog and a ball and a pen. Go write a story, you know. And it was like, okay, I've got this. And I can do that now. I have a recorder. I can play that if you want. Here it is. No, I won't. That's just Facebook Live. No, back to what I was talking about. Yeah, I think it's finding what inspired you, and I would write. So guess what's happened now is I've come full circle, and I realize that, you know, I'm always thinking, always. And people are like, oh, you should write a book, you should write stuff because, you know, it's interesting to see your view on the world. And that's what I'm doing. I'm writing right now. So, you know, I don't know if that will be my ultimate thing and where I'll end up, but it's definitely something that, you know, interests me. And I can't do it all the time. I'm not always inspired, but because I've got that on my mind now, it's like every time something happens during the day, or I have a thought or a conversation or a text message with someone, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I start playing it out in my head, thinking, because I'm an overthinker. But then I'm like, no, write it down. So yeah, there's this like book that's kind of coming together. And I think it's understanding like what using your, you know, I had a very toxic childhood. And it was like, I just couldn't get my head around, like, why would someone do this? why would someone I'm supposed to be raised by do this, you know? And it was just this question I could never get answered. And I think that has been my deep search my whole life, is why do people do what they do? Why do people lie? Why don't people do what they say they're going to do? And so it became so fascinating to me because it just kept showing up wherever I went in everything. And so I've just always been fascinated. And I think now what I've really realized is that, you know, I got quiet for a couple of years. I was in a very toxic relationship, and it was just 2 years of like, I'm out. I just need to I went into a very deep, dark place. I was very depressed and just couldn't function and so on. But in that stillness, in that quietness, I realized some strange things started to happen. It was like I'm starting to hear things, you know, and I was like, oh my God, this is the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. And I couldn't make sense of it. And I thought I was going crazy, and, you know, all these things happened. But I realized that because I finally stopped and just allowed, that I was just flooded with stuff. And I was like, all the things I've ever done, here I was thinking I was this person that jumped from job, you know, I can never finish anything, or I just kept jumping from job to job, like we were saying earlier. I always was told that was a bad thing. Oh, you can't stick at anything, or oh, you're supposed to be in a job for a long time. And I was always told what I should and shouldn't be, but I didn't have the courage to turn around and say, that's bullshit, this is what I think, because I didn't have the self-confidence. I didn't realize that we're all allowed to be who we are. I was trying to please everyone. I was a people pleaser. So in that quietness, I realized, you know what, this has all been a vehicle. Like everything I have done has been so valuable. I've learned from it. And what it has done is it's allowed me to work intimately with people and to view them and to view what they think and to view their thoughts. And now it's all come around full circle. And I realized that these vehicles have been creative outlets for me. But they've also given me this huge insight into many different people in all different industries and scales and so on. And it's made me realize that we're all just the same, that everyone is searching, everyone is seeking, everybody has insecurities, and deep down, we all just want to be accepted. We all want to be loved. We're all afraid of judgment. We want to be heard. And the biggest barrier to moving forwards and doing anything in life is having that fear of being misunderstood, which is what I experienced as a kid. And so it's taken me all this time to come to this place where I want to be that person that can help people feel understood. And so
that's the journey. I think we all go through that, right? We all come from hardships and relationships and growing up in you know, the challenges that we have, so we can become the person that we're supposed to be, and then take people through that, you know, and then we turn around and extend a hand and say, come with me. I know the path. Would you like to come?
You just want to be that person that you so desperately needed when you were young, right?
Absolutely. I think that's a big part of it is I call it the unraveling, right? It's we become who we think we need to become, and then we spend a lot of time unraveling all the things that we were doing and all the ways and things that we thought we were supposed to be doing. Yeah. And then unravel and become the person that we're meant to be.
Well, and I think that's what this is going on right now. This is like a global consciousness, like, you know, the metaphor for it, you know, when we want to learn something, like you said, you have to go inside and do the work. And unpack everything, right? So that you can decide what you're going to take with you now and what you're going to let go of. And we've all been forced inside, like literally into our homes. Now we're all having to face ourselves and face each other and realize what's important and what isn't. So I do think that when all of this whole coronavirus palaver goes back to normal, it won't be normal. It's going to be a whole new place, because I really hope so.
And we need it. I believe that we need things need to be different. They need to be done different. And I just hope that people are having the opportunity to spend the time. You know, I'm calling it the global still point. I'm calling it the coming home to yourself. You know, it's really about, you know, and spending time in your home. We're always going outside, looking outside of ourselves. And it's an opportunity to really come back and sit inward with ourselves in a reflective work. And I think too, sometimes it's everyone's so busy, like you said before, you know, even before we got on the call, you're like, I just wanted the world to stop, right? And I've heard that from so many people, that life is going too fast, our kids, everybody, there's not enough time to think in a moment. Everyone's rushing and running to the next thing. And, you know, here we are in this opportunity to really connect in. So it's just like, you know, the quietude, the quietness, and to reset ourselves or to redesign and come out even stronger in programs or offerings or directives. Like, where do we want to go? What do we want to do? What do we want to create? I think I'm seeing it already in conversations I'm having with people. Is like, yeah, I'm writing a book. I've been putting this part off. I'm creating this. Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think the fact is, though, that people are facing yourself is really hard. Because I think you spend your whole life running away from the things that scare you, and whether that's because you're numbing in
distracted. We've lived
just keeping busy. But people that are really suffering at the moment, and it's funny, actually, now I'm connecting all the dots. The people that I struggle with the most, or that's not the right word, I don't really struggle with them. People struggle with themselves, I think I would say. Like, even like as basic as a hair client or a photography client, my worst nightmare people are the people that present as being so physically beautiful and put together and successful. They are the worst candidates to do their hair for or to take photos, because I'm putting the spotlight on them. We're focusing on them, and they're trying so desperately to look perfect. And it's like, I don't need to look perfect. Like, we're working on something together here, because they think they've got it. The reason they look like they have it all together is because they're so desperate, because everything inside isn't great. So they're putting on this thing to show, look at me, I'm so successful, I look so great, I'm all of these things, but they don't know how to be authentic and just be genuine. They can't relax. Like, they just can't truly be who they are. So I've learned that for years. It's never changed. I can guarantee you, if you produced a group of 10 people, I could instantly go, that one, they'll be the nightmares, move them over there. Right, we're going to work with these people, because I know I'm going to need a much longer time with these ones, because they can't let go. They don't know how to let go. And that's the struggle. I know that that's where the work is. And I think the biggest thing in all of this is we don't know how to let go. We're trapped on the hamster wheel of what people think of us because we just want to be accepted. We don't want to be judged. We don't want to be misunderstood. I think if you're open to just letting go and going, you know what, whatever happens, happens. If I fuck up, then sorry if I'm swearing, but you know, if I do, I do. And it's okay, because there is no right and wrong. It's just a case of everything just is, and it's fine. Like what will get figured out will get figured out, and you know, you cannot learn without screwing up. That's how we learn. So I think this is a big learning time for everybody. People are going to have it hard. The ones, like I said, the ones that I think are really struggling right now are the ones that have these really, you know, they're freaking out about their hair. I'm like, doesn't matter. You're at home. No one can see you anyway. But they're the ones that are immaculately, pristinely kept normally, you know, because that's
the truth. Part. Well, and this is the time of unveiling the masks, right? It's really the opportunity.
Totally, yeah.
Get raw, get real, get vulnerable, and just strip it all back.
Yeah, you're so right.
So tell me, is there anyone who's mentored you or helped you along the way?
I really wish I could say yes. I gotta say no. And the reason is that's all I've been searching for my whole life, is like, who can help me, like who can teach me? And it's like, it never happened. Like I never had that stability. I never had the one person that I felt would do that. And I think what it did was made me resourceful. So I've read lots, I've watched a lot. Like I just want to learn all the time. I'm just like this sponge. So I wouldn't say that there is one person. No, not at all. It's been an amalgamation of, I learn from everyone. Like every single person I meet, I always learn something from them, because even if they've had like much less experiences than I have, they have a different take. Even if all they do is the same thing every day and it's like, oh yeah, I've done that 50,000 times, they have a different viewpoint to me. So for me, it's just intrinsic in everybody. I learn from everybody I meet. So no, there hasn't really been one person.
Yeah, I think that's great. Sometimes, and some people do have that one person that stood out and turned their life around. I've had many mentors, coaches, spiritual books. I've had, you know, there's never, I guess I like your term about resourcefulness. I've always been resourceful, and I always trust that what I need to learn, the teacher, the person comes and delivers it in that moment.
Did you always know that though, since you were a kid, or is that just like as you've grown?
I think when I was younger, I mean, I didn't have a lot of role models in my life that really supported me. I didn't have that teacher who like looked out for me, or you know, that person who was my advocate. And I was very lost as a younger child, for sure. And I think, but I always wanted, like, I knew, it sounds so silly saying it out loud, I always knew I was going to be famous. I knew when I was young, like I always knew I was going to be famous. But I didn't grow up with, like, we didn't have magazines. I didn't, you know, all my friends did. I'd go to their house, I'd be like, what's this Cosmopolitan? And like, I'd do that, you know, and it took me forever just to go through one. But I read a lot as a kid, so I disappeared into stories, and I learned a lot from, you know, a lot of the characters that I read about, and I devoured books. Like I'd read series after series after series, and I was a farm kid, so I rode the school bus an hour to school and home, and I would devour books. Like I'd be in the library like every 2 days, probably getting out new books, and then I'd read till midnight as well. But I always asked, I'm like, I want a mentor, like bring me my mentor. And I always looked to people to maybe be my mentor, but I just took it as learning opportunities. And I'm like, what can I guess part of survival too, because I knew I was on my own at a young age, like 17. I've been on my own since 17, and just looking at different ways of growing, looking at how people were living their life. And I knew I didn't want to live a certain way. I was presented with lots of opportunities, but I was still seeking for the opportunity of what was success? Like, what did that look like? What did that mean to me? And when I got into my corporate career, I actually got a mentor, so I wasn't, I claimed him as a mentor, and he very much was. Like, he helped me grow on so many levels. He introduced different ways of thinking, how to negotiate, how to do sales from a different perspective. He gave me a lot of freedom, and, called me out when I was being an ass too, and that was perfect, and I just, he really helped my corporate career in a big way. And then just, as spiritual awakenings, I've had spiritual teachers. I've had the right person at the right moment who just opened the door for me, and then it's kind of what you do with that information is, do you take it and run with it, or do you kind of run away from it? And I've had both of those experiences too. Mm-hmm. So, just being at a younger age, I was always asking why. And when I was younger, I was like, why? I just want life to be over. I didn't really have a plan. I didn't really know that there was a plan. And I didn't really have a lot of people in my life that were showing me that there was a plan, or that there could be more either. So I just kind of was stumbling. I stumbled a lot.
Same. Completely the same. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what society was showing me was not how. It's weird you said that thing about you knew you were going to be famous. You're making me think now, because I had that feeling too, and I used to feel bad about it. It was almost like a knowing. It was a feeling. I can't explain it. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't. When I think about it now and try and quantify what that is, I have come to realize that it's about my capacity for energy. Like, mm-hmm. I can have a huge energy, and I think it goes out in and out. Mm-hmm. But I'm hugely sad. I didn't all the things that I thought were a detriment to me, because it was like, the Sesame Street thing, one of these things is not like the others. I feel like that was me. It was like, why am I so weird? Like, why do I feel, it's not like I was bullied or anything, but it was like, I just felt like I had this innate sense of knowing. Like, I didn't feel that the answers I got were satisfactory, because people were just following that pattern. I guess the only way I can look at it is like red pill and blue pill. Mm-hmm. Like, I was this red pill kid living in a blue pill world. Mm-hmm. I just knew it didn't make sense and I didn't fit, but there was nothing to quantify why. And so it just made me feel weird. Like, I didn't have anyone in my life that was like that. There was no one you could go to and talk about it. There was nothing talked about in books. Like, I had experiences that I couldn't make sense of, that I wasn't scared, but if I was to talk about them, they would sound really scary. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to look crazy, so I didn't. And so as time has gone on, now I'm in a place where I embrace all of it. I love it, but it's I literally went through a period of a couple of years of thinking I was completely crazy. I went to every single person that I could to find a mentor or someone inspirational that knew more than I did. Mm-hmm. And I just was going through I went to business coaches, I went to a meditation coach, I went to psychics, mm-hmm. I went to a psychiatrist, I went to psychologists, I went to counseling and therapy. I did everything. I was like, what's wrong with me? I'm hearing things, I'm feeling things, like everyone thinks I'm crazy, I'm over the top. And it was all about my childhood and everything. And it was like everyone I spoke to could offer here's a strategy to help you manage that feeling or whatever. I'm like, I don't care. I just want to know what this is. What is wrong with me? Mm-hmm. And I realize now when I think about all of that, I had that as a kid. I already knew and I wasn't afraid of it. It's just that as my life unfolded and I stumbled through it, like you said, I'm finally at that point where I'm like, I know what this is now. And I know I don't want anyone to spend 48 years going through what I went through. Like, if I can shortcut that and help them cut through it really quickly. And there's so many people on this earth now that are, awakening to all of this, and my kids too. I see it in my kids. And they've probably been my biggest inspiration now you come to think of it. They've taught me so much. And I realize that I have to be there. Like, if my biggest goal in life is anything, it's to be a guide for them, because they're way ahead of me. Like, they are so aware and they don't even know what they're aware of. And it's just to guide them to make that jump quicker, like a quantum leap, so that they don't spend 48 years going through it like I have. Like, they can get to this in a couple of years and change this world, because I really think that's what's going on right now. See, now I sound woo woo. I can go
Nope. Bring on the woo-woo. This is perfect. Well, and I think it is that balance. Like I didn't know that I was intuitive when I was younger. I actually spent a lot of time by myself because I grew up on a farm. So we had big open spaces and we didn't have TV, you know, so it was just going outdoors and being creative and going, you know, I created forts. Even my nieces and nephews now, my fort remnants is still there. And they're like, oh, I saw Auntie Dixie's fort and I added to it, you know, and it's just like, here it is, like, you know, 20, 30 years later. And, you know, it's just that those memories are there. But I spent tons of time being by myself as a kid, roaming down in the fields and in the coulee and hanging out with nature. So, you know, that's what I do now as an adult is, you know, I take people into nature and to help them connect with themselves, because I've done that my whole life, where that's where I find my deeper inner connection is in the quietude, right? And a lot of people are afraid of that. They're afraid of what they're going to see and afraid of what they're going to hear. But yeah, it's I think, and children too, like I see it in my nieces and nephews, and, you know, they're just so, and my friends' kids as well, you know, they're just so present and they're so beautiful to, they just cut through it and just see what they need to see. And as we age, you know, we have these lenses or shadows that we kind of keep, or cloaks that we keep putting on so that we can't see the truth. And then these little beings are so sweet and genuine, they just see the truth and they call it out.
Totally. And I think it's funny because like we come into the world alone and we leave the world alone, but it seems that when we're here, we're just terrified of being alone. Mm-hmm. Like it's, you know, and we're not shown, God, I can really get into this. I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole, but, you know, we are born and conditioned through, you know, our education system, our political system, our government system, our financial system. Like everything is the program. It's just all put on us and imposed. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and then you add the layers on top of that, you know, like religion and beliefs and customs and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So this kid that's just born alone and is fine being alone with no fear has all this stuff piled onto them. And then they have to kind of grow up through it without any guidance other than what they keep being told. And it's finally when they get to the age where, you know, they're able to ask questions and then they're wondering. And so it's almost like they're reborn and growing again. It's like, hang on a minute, all this stuff I was told, why is it, I don't feel that way, you know, and whether it's to do with who they are or what the family have told them, or whether it's their sexuality, whether it's their gender, whether they feel that, you know, marriage is anything they want to have or not, it's an institution, or they just want to be free, or they just want to be, you know, there's so many things. And so you kind of, if you don't figure that out and realize that that is just a natural part of unknowing, letting go, it can really mess with you, like really mess with you. I think that's why there's so many messed up people in the world, because we're all just so lost. And we're just connecting with more lost people and creating more craziness and reproducing and still, you know, and it's the world, I believe, is going through a huge, huge shift. And I think it's just weeding out all of the crap and getting people to relook at themselves and figure out what's important. And I do think, like you said, like a lot of these kids, I think that, you know, I read all these things about indigo kids and stuff like that. I do think I'm one of those. And I think that my kids have definitely come out being,
I know you are. You're definitely an indigo.
Stuff like that. I'm like, I think I'm just there to guide them. I really do. You know, so if I can help them do that, then that's awesome. I think so many things that are going on in the world right now is a reaction to all of that.
So, and we talked, you know, we've kind of gone through a few different aspects. So do you believe that spirituality and business can go together? Do you believe that they serve a purpose within each other?
Absolutely. I think it's important to define what you think spirituality is, because I think everybody, it's like if you mention the word God, people will have a reaction to that instantly. I know I did vehemently. My reaction, you know, I'm not, I always just walk around saying I'm an atheist because I was just anti it wasn't anti-God, it was anti-religion and anti the dogma of religion.
I can align with that.
Yeah, I couldn't make that that distinction before. And since I'm really fascinated by religion, and I've gone in and learned a lot about lots of different religions. Am I religious? Absolutely not. But it's not about that. It's not a belief that, I do believe there's something bigger than us. I struggle to use the word God for it, because to me, God just conjures up an image of a man with a white beard and a white dress or whatever. And I'm like, no, I can't align with that. But I definitely think that there is a presence, there is something that we are all part of, and I understand godly things, so in that, being spiritual to me is just believing that there is something else bigger at work, and that you can be intuitive. You can, if you listen, and I think we are completely equipped, all of us as human beings, to be way more powerful than we are. I remember saying this to my dad when I was about 6 years old. I was obsessed with books and science fiction about telekinesis and mind reading and all of the psychic. And I knew, because I saw things, but I couldn't explain it, and everyone thought I was being stupid. And I had experiences that, when I look back on that now, I'm like, I was totally channeling something, but everyone just thought I was crazy, and so I never talked about it. But it's there, and I think we all have that. It's just that we shut all of it down because society doesn't allow us to. Whoever's ruling the world doesn't want us to be powerful, because we're much easier to be controlled when we're, all fearful and all is one. It's very much easier to control that. If you've got all these people that are in control, then you've got ultimate freedom, control of themselves. So for me, it's just all about, if you empower people to think freely, and they still choose to be with you, and they still choose to align with you, that is so much more fulfilling than trying to control groups of people. And so when you ask me about business, I'm looking at spirituality, and are you connected to yourself? Do you think for yourself? Do you act for yourself? And are you choosing to do all of that within the environment that we are growing here? Because if you are, this is going to become a really, really powerful company and a really powerful environment to work in. If you can create freedom, and everybody's choosing to follow the rules or choosing to come together and create things within your business, then you can't fail. And that's the thing. So many people are scared. They want to rule by, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to sign in a time clock. And all it's doing is just forcing people to be smaller. And I think if you can force people to be bigger, you become more productive. If you look at the most successful companies in the world, they're encouraging their staff to be free thinkers and to be innovative and to use their ideas. And it's same in a relationship. If you try and, say your partner, you can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, you might as well be a prisoner. But it's like, you can do whatever you want. I want you to be you. I want you to be free. I'm going to love you anyway. But these are the things that would really hurt me if you did it. But it's your choice, whether you choose to do that or not. And if they love you, they won't do those things, and you don't have to pressure them. They get to treat you like $1 million, and everybody's happy. Right. So it's taking that. It's a fear thing. It's definitely a fear thing. If you can get past that, I think it's vital to have spirituality in the workplace.
Awesome. I do too. And I think in this time, we're going to see businesses very, very different as we emerge back into the workforce, and we're being called to reevaluate and look at how can we build more sustainable businesses. I think that this is a big wake-up call for everybody, right? So what is sustainable? What's not sustainable? But it's about working in alignment. It's working with intuition. It's making those decisions from those aligned, purposeful actions, or inspired, or, the spark of inspiration, acting on it. And bringing it into fruition. We're in a very powerful time of dreaming and then just bringing it into action. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of big changes as we all emerge back into the work world.
I think you bring up a good point. I mean, just think about it. Before we had to work at home, businesses in general were all about, no, we don't let people work from home. How do we know they're not working? Why should we pay them for sitting at home and watching TV? And guess who's keeping your business afloat right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's the people that are working at home because they want to keep working and they want to help your business. And sure, they're watching TV and having snacks and not wearing pants. But guess what? They're still creating an income for you. And so I think when they realize that now people are going to be like, oh, like maybe this isn't such a bad thing. We should allow people to be with their families. We should allow people to be more creative and productive and so on. And then, you know, less overheads for us. We don't have to have such a big workplace, or, you know, there's cost savings involved in that. And, you know, it will evolve. It will change things. And I think, you know, when people are at home more, then they have more desire to get out the home. So guess what that means? Oh, now people are exercising, they're going out for walks, they're socializing. I think it's really interesting to see what's happened. Because normally we just run away from work and go home and watch TV and get away from everything. But now we're in there all the time. Everybody wants to go out.
I agree. Yeah, it's going to be very, very different. That's for sure. Well, thank you so much for our time together. I've enjoyed every minute of it. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add, or anything else you'd like to share?
Do you have I sent you some slides. I was just going to give something just for people to think about. It's just a quick 5-minute thing. It's just something I want people to consider.
Let me go here. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm still on the index page. Is it showing up on the screen?
Yeah, it's on the screen here.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, so you're the one in control of the broadcast. So if you can,
hold on. Let me. I might still be showing. Sorry. Let me just stop share here. There we go. Okay, can you see that one now?
Ah, yeah, there you go. So this is just a really simple illustration. So when you are triggered and stressed and thinking about all of these things, sorry, my dog started barking. God, shh, talking. This is you floating around in your bubble. So this would be akin to when you're born, or maybe when you wake up in the morning and you've just recovered from a nice deep sleep. Yeah, you're in your zen, right? Before anything has got to you. This is you in your bubble, all right? So everything in your bubble is just perfect. You're just floating. There's nothing there. And then if we go to the second one, this is how I get out of my stress. So you're in your bubble, and all the stuff around you is just all the stress of life. It's everything. It's people's comments, thoughts, feelings, sounds, noises, things you see, hear, touch, feel, smell, all of it. It's all there. And it's not your doing, it just is. And that when I'm in a place where I'm really triggered by something, my first words out of my head is, it just is. There's nothing I can do to control all of this. What I can control is my bubble here right now. My bubble is what I have. That's in my control. If I just go to the next slide. Everything that was on the outside doesn't have to come into my bubble unless I choose it. Because when things do come into my bubble, this is what I'm left with. This is my reality. I'm now dealing with all of this stuff that I think is my life. And so I just wanted to put it in a visual. It's not what happens, it's your thoughts about what happens that become your reality. So if you're looking around and your life's just a piece of crap, you can't be blaming everybody else outside of that. It's what you've created. And that may not be by choice. It may not have been a conscious thing, but it's about you've got to think of yourself in this bubble and you choosing to let things inside or outside of it. And you've created that reality. You also have the power to change that reality. And because your reality is just your thoughts, it's only you that can change your thoughts.
That's so powerful. I love that. You're right. It's only you that can change your thoughts, and we do have the power to shift our reality. Thank you for that.
You're so welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think, going back to even just when you started, I think one of my biggest takeaways is, the most flexible people win. And I think it's being flexible with ourselves, being flexible in change, being able to be flexible in navigating this new world, is definitely learning to win. So practicing flexibility. Powerful.
Sure. I mean, the other thing is just, whenever you're having a problem, do you notice that you're always there?
Yeah. I always use that one all the time. Right? It's like we're so used, we point fingers out, and yet you always say, right, there's 3 pointing back at you. So take a look at, what part of the problem are you?
Right.
So thank you so much, Kirstey. I so enjoy our time together. I always love our conversations, and we kind of dive in and out and go all over the place. But I think it's lots of just definitely some juicy nuggets from today. I so appreciate you. So you can connect with Kirstey. You can connect with Kirstey through the link I'm going to put below in the show notes, and I can always I can't wait to, see you again soon. So to our viewers, thanks for watching. I hope you found some value, and I would love to invite you to continue the conversation. Post in the comments below what inspired you, and please share it out to your community so we can continue to bring hope, light, and love to the world. And until next time, abundant love to you all. Thank you so much.